The king is surrounded, the cavalry attacks from all sides. Checkmate. Chess is a two-player strategy game played on a square board divided into 64 squares of alternating colors, usually black and white. The game is played using different chess pieces, each with its own unique movement abilities and values. The chessboard is set up so that each player has 16 pieces at the beginning of the game. The pieces are placed on the board as follows: each player has 8 pawns, which are placed on the second row of their respective sides. The other pieces are placed on the back row. The arrangement from the left side of the board for both players is as follows: a rook, a knight, a bishop, a queen, a king, a bishop, a knight, and a rook. The goal of the game is to checkmate the opponent's king, which means putting the king in a position where it is under attack and cannot escape capture on the next move. This is an example of a double-ladder checkmate using 2 queens, but you can also do this mate using rooks. There are lots of mates too, like smothered mate. However, there are other ways the game can end, such as a draw or resignation. A type of draw is stalemate when the king is not in checkmate but has no legal move. Checks and mates. In chess, check and checkmate are two different terms used to describe the status of a player's king. Check: when a player's king is under immediate threat of capture by the opponent's pieces, it is said to be in check. In other words, if a player's king is in a position where it can be captured on the opponent's next move, the player must address the threat by moving the king, blocking the check, or capturing the threatening piece. Failing to remove the check is not allowed, as it would put the king in a vulnerable position. Checkmate. Checkmate occurs when a player's king is in check, and there is no legal move that can remove the check. In other words, the king is in a position where it is under attack and cannot escape capture on the next move, regardless of any other moves made by the player. When a checkmate is achieved, the game is over, and the player whose king is checkmated loses the game. Checkmate is the ultimate objective in chess because it signifies the defeat of the opponent's king, the main goal of the game. Players aim to maneuver their pieces strategically to create threats and positional advantages that eventually lead to a checkmate. It requires careful planning and execution to trap the opponent's king and prevent any means of escape. Piece movement. Pawns move forward, but they can only move 1 square at a time. On their initial move, they have the option to move 2 squares forward. Pawns capture diagonally, 1 square forward and to the left or right. Additionally, pawns have a special move called en passant which allows them to capture an opponent's pawn that has just moved 2 squares forward from its starting position. Rooks can move horizontally or vertically any number of squares, as long as there are no pieces blocking their path. Knights move in an L shape. They move 2 squares in one direction, either horizontally or vertically, and then 1 square in a perpendicular direction. Knights are the only pieces that can jump over other pieces. Bishops move diagonally any number of squares, as long as there are no pieces blocking their path. Each player has 2 bishops, one moving on the light squares and the other on the dark squares. Queen. The queen is the most powerful piece on the board. It can move horizontally, vertically, or diagonally any number of squares, as long as there are no pieces blocking its path. King. The king is the most important piece, and if it is captured, the game ends. The king can move 1 square in any direction, horizontally, vertically, or diagonally. Material points. Pawn 1 point. Knight 3 points. Bishop 3 points. Rook 5 points. Queen 9 points. King invaluable since it can't be traded. Pins. In chess, a pin is a tactic in which a defending piece cannot move out of an attacking piece's line of attack without exposing a more valuable defending piece. An example of a pin is in the following image. Special moves. Castling. The special move castling allows a player to legally break 3 of the basic movement rules of chess. Normally, a player moves a king only 1 square, but when castling, it can move 2. A rook cannot normally ignore pieces that block it, but when castling, it leaps the king. And finally, a player normally moves 1 piece on their turn, but when castling, the player moves both their king and rook. To castle, a player first moves the king 2 squares to left or right, and then the rook on that side to the adjacent square on the opposite side of the king. Pawn promotion. Pawn promotion is a rule in chess that allows a pawn to be exchanged for a queen, rook, bishop, or knight when it reaches the opposite end of the board. It enhances the pawn's value and strategic potential. Origins of chess. The origins of chess are believed to trace back to ancient India during the Gupta Empire, around the 6th century. The early precursor to chess was known as chaturanga, which means 4 divisions of the military in Sanskrit. Chaturanga represented the 4 main divisions of an army: infantry, cavalry, elephants, and chariotry. From India, the game spread to Persia, modern-day Iran, around the 6th century. The Persians adapted and modified the game, calling it shatranj. Shatranj gained popularity and eventually made its way to the Islamic world and the Arabian Peninsula. During the Islamic Golden Age, chess reached the Muslim world and gained recognition as an intellectual pursuit. Scholars and mathematicians wrote treatises on chess strategy and tactics. The rules and gameplay of chess evolved during this time, incorporating new features such as the ability for pawns to move 2 squares on their first move and the introduction of the queen as a powerful piece. Chess continued to spread throughout Europe during the Middle Ages, primarily through trade and cultural exchanges. It underwent further modifications, with different regions developing their own variations and rules. In the 15th century, the modern rules of chess, including the movement of the queen and the pawn promotion rule, were standardized in southern Europe, particularly in Italy and Spain. The game continued to evolve over the centuries, with strategies and opening variations being developed by renowned players. Chess became a popular pastime among the nobility and gradually gained recognition as a competitive sport, leading to the establishment of formal chess tournaments and organizations. Today, chess is recognized as one of the world's oldest and most popular board games. It is played by millions of people worldwide and is considered a symbol of intellect, strategy, and competition.